Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Wednesday, so it's another chapter of Doing It Scared here with me, Lori, and Passport Paint Parties. So today we are going to do something that I've been really scared to do for a while. So I bought, I'm going to show you guys this jacket. You can't see it all that great. Okay, but anyway, this jacket was one of the first thing. I bought this 3 years ago. It's super soft. It's kind of like a blazer, microfiber. And as you can see here, this is a stain. I never even got to wear this once. So on one of my trips to Manila, I opened up my suitcase and there was a few stains. There's some on the other side too, but this was like a black tarry substance. And I sent it off right away to get washed and cleaned, but it didn't come out. And so since then I'm like, well, I can't really wear it because it's stained. So sometime I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on some patches or I'm going to do something, right? Well, today I finally got tired of looking at it in my closet and not being able to wear it. So we're going to try to paint on it. I'm going to do some floral motifs. So what I will do is have you guys, you can sort of follow along. And then when I'm done, I will put it on a hanger and take a photo of the finished thing, because I'm sure this is going to take me more than an hour. All right, so let's go ahead and start looking at what we're going to be painting. I've got it spread out here. Let's go ahead and adjust. There we go. I think that's good. And what I'm going to do here is I have all of my supplies, but you can, I don't know if you can see this very well. This is just a piece of clear plastic. I am putting this underneath just in case paint tends to seep through the fabric. That way it won't stick together. Now I am using regular acrylic paints and those will be permanent, okay? So if you're gonna be painting on fabric, you can use acrylic paint straight from the bottle. Some people like to add a fabric medium that supposedly makes it a little softer. I'm not really concerned with that. So I'm not adding or mixing fabric medium in with it. So we're just gonna start here. You can see I did kind of plot out a little bit. This, I just used an ink pen, honestly, because I couldn't get a pencil to show up. And this is going to be a stem right here. And then these are going to be some flowers. And then I'll put a few leaves on this side. When we get that side done, I'm gonna move over to here. And I'm gonna be doing the same thing. This is towards the lapel. And then over here where this big spot is, I'm going to attempt to make a big rosette, so to speak, in red. So I'm going to be using some reds and pinks and then whites and just soft colors, okay, with some greens. We're going to start over here. I am going to start with the petals. I know that a lot of times it feels like I should do the stem first, but I really want to get these petals on because I might need to choose or move a little bit of what I'm doing there. So I'm going to start with this vintage white color. Okay, so this is kind of like a softer white. I don't need a whole lot. I am going to start with my liner brush and then I will move to my medium brush because I'm going to set the lines real quick here. The thing with doing flowers, I've kind of come into a process that I like that's easy, but of course you can do them any way you want. So you'll see here, I have this little dot. That is the center of my flower. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some petals. I could have drawn this on first, but I've gotten pretty comfortable with doing free-handed work on some floral types. So I'm just going to first draw in, you can see here I tried to draw in a petal. That's when I was using my pencil and I didn't really care for it. So basically for these are going to be 3 or 4 petal flowers. And I'm basically making kind of like a kind of a heart shape, but with not such a point, and the petals I don't know how else to describe it. So that's where my first flower is going to be. Now let's go on. I'm going to work on this next one. And as I'm putting in the petals, I can see that I'm going to want to layer it. So I'm putting this petal, like the one flower on top is going to be overlapping. I'm going to go ahead and get this done. I hope y'all have had a really, really great week. I'm looking forward to a lot of fun things coming up. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of additional video tutorials, full tutorials that I'm going to be doing. I have some inventory that I want to clear out of because quite honestly, I want to buy more stuff. So you might be seeing that coming down the line, not too far. I did a tutorial last Saturday on a door hanger, a fall door hanger, and I have the kits ready in my my website. So the kit is for a autumn door hanger with basically bluish pumpkins. I adore it. I love it. So I hope you will too. But you can, if you want to take a look at that and order that, the tutorial right now is on my Facebook Live events. It will be there for 30 days and then it automatically deletes. But after that, if you purchase the kit, you're going to get a link that is going to give you the full tutorial available to you through YouTube. So not only do you get all of the supplies that you need, the door hanger, which is a 1/4 inch MDF, really thick, hardy board, all your paint supplies, you're also going to get written instructions, and then you'll have that full tutorial there, just kind of getting us ready for fall. All right, so you can kind of see, I'm just going over some of these. And as this is going on, you can see some of it stands out a lot, and then some of it just, you're not seeing a whole lot of color. That's because it's going to absorb into the fabric. So I'm just, again, starting just these petals. I wanted them to be white in nature, and you know, I think I'm gonna add another one up here. Yeah. Because I just think it will help balance things out. This will go behind. Sorry, sometimes when I'm doing this, I have to concentrate because I am very easily distracted. All right. So we got this here, and again, these are going to be some little white flowers. They're not going to necessarily be solid white. It won't work. So I'm also going to, this is a color that I mixed up not too long ago. It's got a little bit of a buff color with some pinks, so some light pinks. This is what we're going to use for shading. But I'm going to start with, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this brush off for right now. Put it in my water so it doesn't dry out. Now I'm going to use this medium brush. Okay, so we're going to continue with this vintage white. And what I like to do, guys, is I've dipped my brush in the paint, and then if you have some frayed edges on your brushes, I just go ahead and twirl it like this. First of all, it helps get some of the excess paint off, but it also helps me get a nice little point going. So I'm going to start here and move down. That way I'm not crossing myself and getting more paint on myself than necessarily needed. And you might see, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do this. I might actually be working one petal at a time with shading. I'm going to try on this first one. Okay, so this is actually giving a really good fill in. You can see here it's a little bit not as clean as the other sides. That's okay, I can clean that up later. What I really want right now is getting my base color down. and then I can go from there. Now you might be asking, well, those are going to just start to blend together. Yes, they are. I'm going to show you in a minute. I will be using my liner brush and the light pink to work out the edges and create definition. I just want to get this first one filled in, and then we'll show you how we're going to do the definition. Once I've got the petal filled in, I don't have to worry about strokes. You're not going to really see brush strokes on this. So if you've joined me before, you know, I'm not really great at technology. So being able to see people who might be watching or are commenting, I'm not good at multitasking that way. So please, 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 if you're joining us and you enjoy what you're seeing, or if you don't enjoy what you're seeing, go ahead and leave me a comment. Tell me where you're from, where you're watching from. I'd like to get to know everyone a little better. One of the reasons I do this business is I like to meet and get to know my community. And, you know, these days our communities do include social media and technology. All right, so I filled in all of the petals there. You can see that you can still see that line. So that lets me know that I'm going to have to do some shading or multiple coats to cover up that paint line, and that's okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use the liner brush I just had. I'm going to open up this pink because it's light. It's a light pink. These little cups are great for holding on to mixed paint. So a lot of times when I mix a paint, I end up with extra, and I don't want to lose that color. So I just do this. So I'm just dipping this right in here, and I'm going to basically do the outline, and I'm going to concentrate here on the outside edges. I'm not necessarily going to worry about that. We're going to fill this in. You'll see I'm going to fill this in right here, but this is going to be this petal overflowing from that. So I don't have to do a whole lot. Again, I want to make sure I keep my lines separate. And so this petal comes in and out. And if I'm going to do it all, let's go ahead up here. You might notice that when I'm using acrylic and we're on fabric, it doesn't flow as easily as when we're with a canvas or a non-porous surface, and that's okay. So just know that if you decide to do a project like this, it is going to take you a little extra time. And again, I'm getting just the shape. This is not the finished look. I just want to get the petals situated. So I know a little bit about where I'm going. I'm also going to just put a little dot right here in the center. Now I can tell you that dot is not going to stay pink, but that's the center of my petal, so I can blend these coming down. Let's see. We'll do that for now, okay? So now I'm going to move on to the next one. I do see I need to kind of clean up here, and that's okay. So again, this is kind of like a rough draft. I can I could outline first in pink and then do the white, but I like this process better. I like starting with the lighter color. So I'm back into my white again. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in this next flower. I had originally thought that I was gonna do like kind of a goth look, Halloween look on here, with some black lace and trim. But then I decided I didn't feel like doing any hand sewing, so I went a different route because I decided to paint. And there's a part of me that still can't believe I'm doing this. Again, like I said, I bought this like 2 years ago through Stitch Fix. Absolutely tried it on, loved it, was so excited, arrived in Manila with all the stains on it, and they didn't come out. So technically this is a brand new jacket that's never really been worn. It's just been tried on for the mirror, and then of course it got stained. So it's been sitting in my closet. So this medium brush, again, it's not going to give you a lot of detail, but what it's doing is it's setting the color. We'll be doing shading and such later. I just want to get the fill in because it's that space. All right, so I've done the fill in. So now I'm going to, once again, take my small brush, my detail brush, using the pink, and I'm going to go ahead and follow the outline of the petals. I'm a little scared. I don't know how I'm gonna like this when it's done, but I kind of decided if I don't like it and I don't ever wear it, then there's no risk because I wasn't wearing it anyway because of the stain. I think for most areas, the kiddos are back to school. So I hope mommies, those of you that have sent them off, that they had a great first day of school. I pray that they have a wonderful and amazing year learning. I homeschooled for a while, so I did get excited about the first day of school, regardless of whether I was putting them in the local public school or we were starting new curriculums for the year. I absolutely loved teaching my kids. And I don't know how much they loved it. Actually, my oldest, I think, really enjoyed being homeschooled. And then my middle one wanted me, she told me one time, she's like, I just want you to be my mommy, not my teacher. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. So that's when we kind of decided to move into the public school system. I was so scared, but it all turned out well. My kids did well. My youngest, she did have some medical issues her senior year. So I actually homeschooled her the senior year. And she was thrilled about that. Really lessened. She has anxiety, and it really helped with her anxiety, and I feel like helped her to focus more on learning rather than what the people around her in the classes were doing. I'm not going to say it was easy because I was working full-time at the same time. So, yeah, that was fun. know my cousin in Michigan just this last year retired from the school system. She was a paraprofessional, I believe at Holt Elementary, and man, is she a hero, I'm telling you. She did so much for those students of hers. And I know the school district's got to be missing her. Just looked at the clock. If for some reason it seems like when I'm watching time when we're doing this, I'm always looking at the clock at about 20 after to see my time. It seems to be when I'm looking up. Again, these are only an hour long. I will be done. And so I don't get the whole thing finished. When you do it, one of my kits, or you join one of my full tutorials, I do everything from beginning to end. So you get to see the whole process. I think it's nice with a kit when I sell the kits, because you might have something that you're like, oh, I'm not exactly sure, or not remember a certain technique, and you can just go ahead and rewind and watch it again. And then, of course, like I said, there are written instructions for those that prefer that way as well. Okay, you know what? I don't really like that up there. So let's kind of clean this up. There we go. All right, last petal, or I should say last flower petals. And some of you might be noticing on the inside of this jacket that there are pink flowers in there. I did not choose these colors to match that. I just wanted something light. And soft looking. So even though it's kind of similar to the inside lining of the jacket, it is not my goal or attempt to match. Almost got this filled in. And you can see there's a little bit of this stain that it most likely is not going to get covered. On the other side, it will be more noticeable because the stain is bigger. But I'm okay with that. I'm more wanting to camouflage rather than completely cover. So, like I said, that's going to be okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and do our outlines here. This brush, I'm not going to be coming back to it for a minute or so, so I'm going to wipe it off and put it in the water so the paint doesn't dry in there. And I don't know if you can see the difference, but as this is being absorbed, the color is just slightly different. So again, like I said, if I feel the need, I will put additional coats. I will do some blending, but I really need to watch it to dry first to see exactly what I want to do. So acrylics usually dry in 5 to 10 minutes for a thin layer. Again, this is on a fabric, so it may take a little longer. So I'm going to go ahead and outline these flowers on this one, but then I am going to work on a stem to give all of these a little bit more time to dry. Like I said, it's pretty much the same on the other side of the jacket. lines there. Okay, so now this one I'm going to wipe off and clean because I'm going to have to move into some green. Okay. And again, I'm just wanting to really get this stem line. I'm using forest green. It's one of my favorite greens to do vines, leaves, foliage. I'm going to continue with this small brush. Again, now here is the forest green on there. And I honestly can't tell you yet if I'm going to add leaves or not. So I've got that going up in there. So that may show, and I don't know that I'll actually get that to be able to cover up all the way, but you know what? I'm okay with it. So I'm just covering up these lines that I made with my pen. And I will, of course, do any touch-ups I need later. Okay. So that's the green. Again, it's not as clean as I want it. I will come back to this momentarily. I just want to make sure I might, like I said, I haven't decided if I'm going to add little leaves. I don't know that I'm going to. Kind of just like it looking like a branch that we kind of cut off there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back in and do some shading now with the pink and the light white. So I'm trying to decide exactly what I'm going to do. I do know that I'm going to be adding some centers here where these dots are. So I do want some shading. So I'm going to do a little shading at the base, just like that with some little lines. Let's see what I can come up with. It's okay. Put this here so it's close by. Now I'm going to go in with this vintage white again. And I'm using my small brush because I really want to have a lot of control here. And that larger brush is good for covering a larger area. I'm going to go ahead and paint along the light pink colored line that we already have. And fill in those petals. So this is just making that pink a smaller, basically, outline, not so thick. I'm doing okay today. Usually my hands will be shaking, so this detail is difficult for me. And so I just have made life easy on myself and just decided to go with it. And if it's shaky, it is, right? Okay. This way now the light pink is looking more like an outline or part of the petal than it's not front and center. So we started with a base layer of the white. Then we outlined with some light pink. And I'm going back in with more white with a detail brush over the top of the outline to make it thinner, just so it's more of an accent than a solid. And again, we're not done by any means. What I'm going to try to do is finish this flower in full and then move to the other side to show you I'm going to attempt to do sort of like a rose with some red paints, and I'll show you the layering process that I use. Again, I'm not an artist, so what I do is never going to be perfect. I just enjoy painting. I enjoy creating. I get that from my mom. My sister and I both like to do creative things. Okay. This one's taking me a little longer. It's got more space. I also need to really work on that line that's showing through. So you might notice it's starting to dry again. Some of it's still soaking in, some of it's on top. Just what you have to deal with when you're doing fabrics. So you got to give yourself some grace there. Once it dries, it's not going anywhere, I promise. But if you see patches like that, okay. So I want to do some more in the inner part of the petal, because we want to get some depth in there, and I'm trying to decide what color, and just let me think for a minute. I think I'm going to use some ecru. But I'm not sure. That's kind of a goldenrod color. Part of me wants to go towards blue because I love blue, but I really don't think I want to do that. Let me see. Sometimes deciding color is the most difficult part of a painting. Let's see. I have some charcoal gray here. I'm going to try that. I'm going to lighten it though quite a bit. So this is the charcoal gray. I tend to always go towards grays. I love grays. Oh, come on. Another bottle. For some reason, the vintage white, the bottles can be full, but they don't like to come out very easy. I have to really squeeze. There we go. Okay, so here I have some of the vintage white and the charcoal gray. I can use a bigger brush if I want to, but I'm just gonna blend this in real quick to get this. Yeah, that's the kind of color I want. So I've got this soft gray. It's very close to the color of the jacket. Now I've got a lot from mixing on here, so I'm gonna just twirl to get the excess off. All right, and what I'm gonna do is basically put in some shading. There's still a lot on that brush. Kind of where I did these little lines with pink. It's too much. Let me get that cleaned up. There's a little there. I want my lines to be as small as possible. And sometimes if you load too much on the brush, that's what happens. So I got a better load here. So yes, there is some pink under there. That's quite all right. I'm more than okay with that. I have to think about how this is the petal going down into the center of the bloom. You would have just a tiny bit here. All right, so it's all going towards that center dot. So I am going to get a little bit of black because I'm going to do that center dot black. You may have seen when I've done hat painting, this is kind of how I roll. So now I'm going to just blend in that eye. Notice some of it's mixing with the gray and it's giving me a two-tone, and that's absolutely fine. I like that actually with that. And I do need to do some more shading, so I'm going to pull in a little pink, and I'm going to start pulling some pink in from the bottom just to add a little bit more definition, just like I did with the gray. Okay, I got too much on that one. It's okay though. I'm just really more concerned about the gray area. Don't want to take away the gray, but we want that to be subtle. All right. I still have this line here, so I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to put another stroke right over the top of it with this white, and I might have to do that a couple of more times. I'm okay with that. Now, typically, you would see me start moving towards outlining, and because for some reason, I just love to outline my things in black. So that's going to be coming, and that will help blend in the petal as well, because we're wanting it to blend, obviously. So, clean that back up right here. I am going to go ahead and outline with black. Because the pink is just a little too subtle for me. And I can already tell I like it better. I just like that pop it gives. I'm going to go ahead over here. There we go. Yes, I'm liking it better already. I don't know why. Like I said, I just, for some reason, I like to give outlines with black. And that's okay. If you don't, that's okay. It's just kind of my style. I could have done this with a navy blue too. That might look nice. But I'm sticking with what I know. My beautiful black. Okay, and you'll see right here that I didn't go over all of it. That's okay. Some of it can pop out because, again, it doesn't need to be perfect. And as long as it shows some of that, what I need. Now, I'm going to also add a few into here. Going to use one of my dotting tools because now that I've done the extra, it just looks a little bit too much. And I'm going to dot in just like that for the center. And okay, so that was the light pink, and now I'm going to do just a few in the gray, the lighter gray color we created. And I'll finalize with one black dot there. So I've got that one done. It's okay. I can't say that I love it. I do have some streakiness from this brush. I probably need to cut that off. But I want to move over because we only have 15 minutes. So I want to move over to the other side and show you what I'm going to be doing with some of the red. So I'm going to gently just move this back. It should be dry enough that it's not going to transfer. Make sure I got my plastic sheet here. So here you can see this is where I have a much bigger stain, and this right here is what I'm going to be using and making into kind of like a rosette. I've got a Tuscan red, which has a little bit of berry in it, and then I'll show you in a minute. And then I've got a primary red, and I have a wild berry, which is on the pink side, but will be used very sparingly, if at all. So this is the wild berry. I'm not even putting that on my palette yet. So here I have my Tuscan red, and this is primary red. And I'm gonna use my medium brush, because this is gonna want to have some bolder strokes in it. Okay. So you can see, get this over here more. So you can see right here, I used my ink pen and I made a dot for the center. That's where we're going to start. And I'm gonna start with the darker red. So what I have found when I'm trying to do little rosettes is I don't really pre-trace anything. I realize that I'm just kind of layering each aspect. So there I started with that deep red, that Tuscan red. I am going to come back in later and put some of that color in there. I did not make a full circle. So I'm not even going to rinse off my brush because I'm going to be going back and forth with the colors. So I'm going to use primary red next. Right here, I'm going to add a little bump of color. I'm going to add a little bump of color here. Here. And then here again, okay? So you can see now that is the primary red. It looks kind of a little more pink, and then you got the darker red. All right, picking up the dark red again. I'm going to be adding little bumpets, so to speak, behind the petals I just created. So, like this. As I go out, my little bumpets are going to get larger. Okay. And again, I'm just going to be going back and forth with different colors because that's what's going to give us the look of those petals that fold into a rose. Those are usually tightly compacted. So now back with the primary red again. I like to build from the inside out. Some people do it opposite, especially if they have a tracer. Again, I had tracers, but the pencil just doesn't really work well, and the graphite paper doesn't work all that well with fabric. So you can see I'm just kind of going back and forth with the different, in between the different bump outs, so to speak, creating a enveloped look. And as it dries, you're going to start seeing those differentiate the different tones a little better. All right, now we're going to go back to the Tuscan red, the darker red. I'm going to blend in, making the bump a bit larger. I can tell you right now, I will be doing some accenting with black and outlining. I always do. I can't help myself. You may see as some of this is drying, you can see some of that black stain, and I'm perfectly okay with that because it is actually giving it some texture. And again, I'm just really focused on getting the stain covered up. So, you know, I don't have a whole lot that I'm worried about otherwise. And I'm just gonna keep continuing this motion till I get it large enough that it's covering the whole stain that I have. You can see as we're getting out, I'm able to start making larger petals, taking up a little bit more space. Again, as it dries, I might have to do a second layer and do some touch up, but right now, this is working really well. I'm not going to be able to finish the whole thing before our time is up. You can see that. So again, this will have to be another one that you'll have to come back and check the discussion board and for the final picture. And then I will, of course, upload this onto, YouTube as well. Again, not a full tutorial on YouTube, but it will be the full hour of what I'm working on. Okay. Kind of want to do a little there and another, let's see. There we go, that's better. All right, now I'm gonna move to that dark color again. And when I do these on canvas, like I layer this back and forth just like this, and it just, I love the way it looks. It kind of gives an impressionist look. I'm not a realist, if you hadn't noticed yet. So I like the impressionist vibes. My sister and I are gonna go to the Van Gogh exhibit. We haven't decided exactly what date we're going to go. I think my friend Teresa is going to come with us too, but they have an immersive Van Gogh exhibit right now with like VR and everything in Tampa. And I'm really, really, really excited about getting to go and do that. We may even do a traditional tea at a tea room, having a nice little all girls all the time night out, so to speak. So we're getting close. Looking good. I may actually pull up some coral in here as well to kind of give a little bit more color coverage. Gonna go with the other color here. So I'm getting kind of to the size that I want. So now I'm going to start just kind of touching up areas. Okay. Now, again, this isn't dry yet, but I'm going to go back in and do more impressionism once it starts to dry. So what I'll be working on next is doing this stalk with those florals there while this dries, and then coming back and finishing this up. So it is 11:55. I'm going to quit a little bit early, but this has a lot more work to go. So hopefully you'll come back. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on to me. Hi. So hopefully you'll come back to see how the finished product turned out. And I will get that posted as soon as I can. I will be painting for a little while. So I hope y'all had a good time. And if you made it, please say hi in the chat and let me know that you're here. And I'll get back to you. I just want to, again, thank you for joining. And we'll see you again next time when we do It Scared.